Hello, everyone. Welcome to Supp Talk Radio. Today, we go back to the origins of the podcast, talking with new and upcoming companies, talking about the industry, the brand, and how the whole economy is going. Today, we are joined by Kyle Brammer, the president and co founder of After Dark Supplements. Kyle, welcome to the show, my friend.
Hey, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
And as I mentioned off air, we've been on LinkedIn, we've been chatting, I feel like forever, both our family lives and whatnot. And I'm
Yeah.
glad we're finally able to do this.
Yeah, I know it worked out well. And honestly, I'm glad we can do it before the kiddos go to bed. It makes it easier for me.
Yep. So Kyle, let's go back to young Kyle. What got you first started into supplements? Was it sports? What kind of got you into the realm of supplementation?
Definitely sports. I was big in wrestling and baseball. I was a collegiate wrestler for a little bit. Got hurt. I was already banged up, kind of going. I was a D1 wrestler for a little bit,
Okay.
and then it was kind of like, all right. So I was working HVAC at the time, and then I was like working out. I enjoyed it, and then I was like, man, I there was an offer from one of my friends to come work part time at a GNC, and I was like, okay, cool. Like I had know nothing about
Yeah.
supplements. I think creatine gets you big, and there's steroids. That's all I know. Like it was very minimal. And so when I got there, I'm always a student of the game. They used to have a big training binder, and you can read it at your own leisure. Well,
Yeah.
I wanted to know what I was selling people. I wanted to know the ingredients in there. So I used to pick really popular products at the time I was there. It was all Cellucor products.
Mm-hmm.
MuscleTech was still kind of doing its thing, but this was the tail end of Jack 3D, Oxy Elite, old school 1MR, like all
Oh
the
yeah.
DMAA days. And I would just pick those and study and like kind of work on my sales technique. And I really fell in love with it. I got super into fitness and working out, and then uh, got plucked by MuscleTech actually out of GNC. And that's what really set me off on my career. And I've been in the industry ever since.
So I saw that on your LinkedIn. You were at Iovite for a while. Were you doing both Six Star and Muscle Tech, or were you representing one of the brands?
Just MuscleTech. So Six Star, they kept as a separate entity under the umbrella.
Okay.
And so I was part of like, I would say the second wave, but still the OG US sales team for MuscleTech. And we were selling into visiting GNC corporate, GNC franchise, vitamin shops,
Yep.
independents, all that kind of stuff, working with distro. At that time, it was Europa and Nexstar, really. MuscleFoods was there, but they were kind of like the third place distributor, nowhere where they're now the number one distributor.
Yeah.
But yeah, so kind of doing all of that. We didn't touch Six Star. In fact, it was kind of a pain in our backside because so many people are like, oh, well, you're sold in Walmart. It's like we're not even the same product, like completely
Yep.
different things. And it was always a battle, especially with the independent brick and mortars. They chewed us up and spit us out half the time.
I can imagine. So I grew up in the 90s when Muscle Tech was just starting. And they had three products at the time. I think three or four products really to put them on the map. And then
Yeah.
2000s, they signed every well-known bodybuilder to multiple
Yep.
year contracts and everything else. You were there in like the teens, 2000 teens, right?
Yeah, I started in 20, like back half of 2011, beginning of 2012. So we had Phil Heath at the time.
Okay.
He was like, that was, I either we had him for about a year or we just signed him around that time. But surprising enough, we actually had a very young Seth Feroci.
Oh
He was
wow.
just coming
Okay.
off winning the New York Pro.
Yep.
We had Mark Magna. We had
Okay.
Matt Kroc before the transition.
Yeah.
And then we had John Jones.
But
Uh,
at that
yeah.
point was a little bit of a lull for Muscle Tech though, because I felt like there was. Yeah, I mean,
We
respectfully.
were on the verge up again. So they got through the lawsuits with Hydroxycut and the
Yep.
Fedra, and then the blowback about Cell Tech and all of it. And so they were just really starting to clean things up. And during my time there, from like the 2012 to 2015 range, that was probably like their peak time. We were
Okay.
doing almost 100 million in GNC. We had multiple lines in GNC. We had our Platinum series, which I thought really revamped a
Yep.
lot of what Muscle Tech was doing. It's just hard, They're in Canada, we're in the US.
Sure.
Last thing you want to hear from is a US sales team telling you what you need to do. And there's always friction. Let's just say at the annual meeting every year, we got shoved in the furthest room in the furthest building away from
Jeez.
everybody. We weren't well liked.
So you leave there, you do kind of a little bit of a detour. You go to MuscleFoods, which is a huge distributor. I actually used them. I had a store years ago myself, and I used
Yeah.
them. I was very happy with them. So what was that like? Because now you're going from representing one brand to kind of multiple brands.
Yeah, so that one was interesting because I I was getting kind of burned out with the visiting the GNCs and all that kind of stuff. And full transparency, I was getting my butt kicked in specialty with brick and mortar mom and pops. Like
Yeah.
I didn't we weren't a well-liked brand. Diamond Ties was like just controlling the whole area. It
Okay.
just, yeah, like I was getting better, but it wasn't quite there. So then it's kind of like, oh hey, I'm gonna go full time into doing this now and having these
Yeah.
multiple brands. And I had some interest from a few other of the distributors, but I Muscle Foods to me, like I always have a soft spot for the underdogs.
Yep.
And to me, I'm like, I like them. These are my kind of people. And so that was interesting because some people that were on board with me with MuscleTech, when I went to Muscle Foods, it was like, well, no, I go through this distributor. And like I had to re-earn their trust. And it was
Oh,
something as
interesting.
simple as, yeah, it was as simple as like, all right, hey, I'll make you a deal. I'll match what you're getting, but I'll come work your events. I'm not asking for the whole shelf. I'm asking for just a couple units. Let me work my and I always told people like, hey, not the prettiest, definitely not the tallest, not the fastest, but I will
Yeah.
outwork all the other reps. And that's what I did. Uh, and it worked really well. We saw a lot of expansion in the Midwest and the territories that I was coming, and it allowed for me to move up within the company as well.
Love because I used to order compare and contrast. I used to order from Europa as well, but it was
Yeah.
interesting. I always felt the Europa systems were better, but I felt their sales team was terrible. Where I felt Muscle Foods, the actual software system was okay, but the customer service was second to none. I'm like, I could care less
Yeah.
about a system as long as if I can verbally tell you, Kyle, hey, what 10 of this, 5 of this, 6 of that, and you're like,
Yeah.
no problem, I get it out to you. I could care less how it's inputted.
Yeah.
So, but that's the
Yeah.
one thing I always liked you guys more because your customer service is always a lot better than
Their
Europa.
CRM system was pretty archaic. I get to even when I was there, even at national sales manager, I was like, "Golly, we this is the best system that we can use." But I will say, because majority of them are actually girls that were women that were working on the inside for inside sales,
Okay.
rock stars, man. Like their
Yeah.
customer service next to nothing. Some of the best sales reps I've met are within that building. There were some true aces, and I enjoyed my time there. About 5 years worth, and then it got furloughed during COVID, and it was just kind of like, all right, next chapter. Like I felt like I did what I wanted to at that point
Yeah.
too.
So you were kind of just growing because again, you're in the industry learning almost different facets to a point.
Yeah, yeah, it was, and I'm one that like I'm not shocked that now I own my own company because I get bored very easily in the same role. And I'm
Yep.
always wanting to, I'm big on self education. I read a lot, always trying to better myself, both professionally and personally. That where if I get into a place for too long, I get antsy and I'm like, ugh, all right, what else we got?
Okay.
Like, what can we do? Like, let me get in on this. And they're like, oh, pump your brakes.
So when you're at Muscle Foods, are you thinking about opening up your own brand, or was it the furlough that said, "Hey, maybe I can do this on my own"? Like, what was the impetus of opening After Dark?
Oh man. So no, there was not even a thought.
Okay.
The thought of like, hey, I would love to be in a place where I'm making myself a lot of money instead of making all these other companies millions,
Yeah.
and I would like to see a little bit of it. Uh I actually had one more stop. So after Muscle Foods, I was pretty burned out with the industry. It was a grind. We worked really hard there to get us to where we were at. And I was just like, man, I had offers immediately to come work for other brands, and I was like,
Okay.
I need time off." And we were going through lockdown, that
Yeah.
whole
Yeah.
whole spiel, and so I just took time off. I spent time with my wife. We had a couple acres out in Pennsylvania, and I just was out mowing my lawn and sipping coffee and just enjoying it. And we kind of got to a point where I was trying to apply and get into other industry, but it's obviously a who you know kind of game. I was on a
Yeah.
couldn't go into an entry level job, and so then at that point, someone has a buddy that's going to get the job over you. So I ended up getting contacted from a good colleague of mine, and he's like, "Hey, I know you don't want to come back to the industry, but I got a unique opportunity." I was like, "Okay," and so he was with this like private equity startup acquisition company. They were buying up struggling brands, emerging brands, and then we were going to be tasked with, creating brands. And so at that time they had SimFit under their
Okay.
banner, and they're like, hey, we need someone that understands distribution. We need someone that can help us just clean all this stuff up. And so we did, and we rapidly expanded our portfolio of brands, even to Physique, the carbonated protein water.
Yeah. Okay.
We had that, and we were doing well. We were a small team doing all of it. Unfortunately, ownership there were not the most trusting people, and money
Okay.
quickly started disappearing. And all of us can kind of see it's like, hey, we're spending a lot faster than we're making,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
some of this didn't add up. And so, uh, shortly after that, I had a good buddy of mine that dabbled in the industry but wasn't really from it. He was like, hey, man, why don't you start your own company? And I'm like, hey, yeah, let me just pull 100 grand out of my back
Exactly.
pocket and just go
Yeah.
and do it. And he goes, what happens if I front the cash, will you build out the rest and do it? And
Oh.
I said, well, as long as we build it, like, I don't want to do this by myself. And he goes, okay. And so we just started dabbling around with ideas. And to me, it was kind of like, oh, cool, I'll have my own brand. And if it does like 250,000 in a year, I'm happy.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and at this time, I was getting ready to go join a manufacturer because that was like the last part of the industry that I had not worked in yet. So I was like, oh, I want to go and learn and understand this. And so we came up with After Dark. And so the bunny on there is kind of a play off of Donnie Darko. We were
Yeah.
kind of, yeah, so we were kind of like, oh, let's do an outlier. Like, we're not going to tell people who our end demographic is. We're going to make unique labels that was the one thing I wanted to see is there was only a few people kind of doing cool labels out there. I felt like people were nailing formulas really well. I felt like flavors were on point. Those were
Mm-hmm.
two, but then I just felt like labels was kind of like I can count them on one hand. And I was like, that's where we'll get people.
Yeah.
That's where we'll get
Okay.
them. It's like with the look of the product. I feel like we could do all that. Now, my partner at the time, he likes formulations. That's like his thing. And so he actually wrote our original InHUMAN pre-workout formula on a napkin
Oh,
and
geez.
didn't tell me. And he goes, hey, I'm going to send you samples. Let me know what you think of this. And when we did first launch, we did have DMHA because again, we were just like, oh, hey, we're a small company. We're probably never going to be anything more than this. Like, what's going to happen? And so he sends me the samples. I'm like, dude, this is pretty good. Like, I feel really good on this, like all of it. And
So
so we
Kyle,
launched.
so
Yeah.
you didn't even have to vet like the manufacturer. He already did that for you as well.
Yep.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. He already kind of had everything else. He's like, I can't do the front half of stuff. Like,
Yeah.
and I was
Okay.
like, yeah, I can do all that. That's autopilot.
It's
I
your
have the
wheelhouse. Yeah.
connections. Yeah, all that I could do it. And so, yeah, he vetted the manufacturer. He already had ties with ingredient suppliers too. Like, he kind of knew that aspect of it. He just didn't really know the our end of it and everything. And
Okay.
so the retail, the consumer facing side, and so yeah, he sent me. I'm like, man, those are good. Like, I'm not a high stem guy, but I like it,
Yeah.
And so we ran a couple flavors, made a few products, and it started selling. It started selling a lot faster. And we weren't doing website. So our big thing was kind of like no Amazon, no website. We're here for brick and mortar. Like,
And
that's who we want to support.
I remember that because I felt like when I was first introduced to you guys were almost like hidden to a point
Yeah.
because I remember, I think the first time I saw you guys, my buddy Jake owns a store called Neutral Cartel
Yeah.
and he carries you guys. I think that was the first time when I started talking to him, and he was very like stealth mode. Didn't want to tell me who's behind the brand. Didn't want to give me like I wasn't being nosy. I was just like,
Yeah.
looks like a good brand. Who's this guy or who's this girl behind it? He's like,
Uh,
yeah, I can't really let the cat out of the bag, but I'm like, all right, whatever. But go ahead, Kyle, continue, please.
yeah, no, you're good. Yeah. I mean, that was one thing. Like, we didn't we didn't want us to I didn't want to be out there. I didn't want people to buy it because they knew me. It
Yeah,
was
yeah,
more like
okay,
a hey. So I even had a pseudonym email address. Like, we were doing the whole thing. Like, only within the last, I would say, 12 to 18 months have I really come out and addressed like, hey, no, I co-founded this. I've been a part of it
yeah.
since beginning and all of that. You're actually like I think the second podcast that I've actually ever done because
Well,
I don't
thank
even like
you.
going on. Yeah, I don't even like going on camera about it. But my wife said I need to do better. So
So what made you come out then? That sounds weird. What made you come out then?
My wife was like, "Hey, as the brand grows, like you have to have a face with the brand,
Yeah.
and people are gonna want to know the origin story. They're gonna want to know about it, and it's a great story. She's like, I feel like it would encourage others to take risks, to do things, and to show that like, hey, you can do this. It is feasible." She's like, "But how are they gonna know it if you're hiding all the time?" And I was like, "That's okay. I can't argue with that one. All right."
Yeah. I
So
love it.
yeah, we had a small like Jake at Niche Cartel's OG customer. He was there from day one.
Yeah.
And so quickly buzz built up. So we were using a small regional distributor down in Texas because it was like, hey, we don't want to make too many waves. We just kind of want to do our thing. And
Yeah.
so I was like, hey man, I think if we did $250,000 in a year, that'd be so cool. Well, we did about $500,000 in the first like 3 or 4 months, and
And
I
you
was
only
like,
and you only had what, 3 SKUs at that point or 2 SKUs?
we had
Because I
we
felt
had
like
like
you only had pre's. You really didn't have a lot
we had
then.
we had two flavors of pre. I think we had
Okay.
an estrogen product and we had a fat burner pill, and
Okay.
that was it.
Okay.
And the fat burner pill, which cracked me up, people are like, oh, well, the fat burner doesn't hit like the pre does. I was like, it's the same formula. We just put it in pill form because some people wanted it in pill and not
Yeah.
powder.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just, but yeah, so we had that, and quickly we were like, oh man, we need to add a third flavor.
Yeah.
And then Sport Life distribution came knocking, and I always remember it. It was kind of like well, we want it, but we're only going to put you in two hubs to start. And I was like, that's fair.
Right.
Like we got to earn our thing. I think it was like a week later, I had a POs for all four hubs, reorders on the other two.
Wow.
Like and I mean, we quickly became at that time probably their fastest selling pre-workout. And that's, I mean, peak
Okay.
alpha lion, all that. Now, we weren't necessarily saying, hey, we're putting up alpha lion numbers or bucked up numbers,
Sure.
but we were turning at the same rate
Yeah.
at that time around that momentum. And so that was early. So we joined with them in like November of 2022 because we
Okay.
launched in August of 2022.
Wow.
And
Okay.
so, yeah. And then we hit into 2023, just full steam ahead. Like it was
So now
rapidly expanding.
So now I know a problem that supplement companies always have is they want to go either distribution, they want to get in Walmart, whatever it is to blow it up. But
Yeah.
sometimes they don't realize that, okay, we just got that large order in, 5,000, 10,000, 20,000
Yeah.
SKUs or units. Shit, we don't have the money for this. So was your co-founder still able to obviously finance, I guess I'll say, the POs and everything else?
Yeah. I, so prior to launching, I already told him, I said, it's not hard getting into distro.
Yeah.
It's the reorders and all
Yep.
of that. And I said, if we build something out, we have to do best case slash worst case scenario. We build something that people want.
Mm-hmm.
So now these runs are going into this, going into that. So we took a gamble on ourselves and we did a fairly decent sized run the first time through, expecting, because I said, well, if worst case hits and we really start selling, um, that will buy us the lead time we need to do it. And I think within the first year and a half to 2 years, we were only out of stock for no longer than like 2 weeks. Uh,
Wow. Okay.
I did a lot of forecasting ahead of time,
Yep.
just to kind of, and I mean, I was always looking at sales trends, always that, hey, let's bump this in, let's schedule this. And my partner and them, they were on point with everything too. Honestly, I think people were excited to want to help us as well.
Yep.
And and a lot of luck too. A lot of times, the timing of our runs ended up coinciding with kind of lull periods for them. So it just luck too. So we had a lot of favor going in our court at that time.
Were you since you had the experience at distribution previously, were you a good customer with Sport Life, or was there a lot of maybe like, oh crap, this guy knows the system. We can't kind of pull any fast ones on him. Does that make sense?
I was a little brash, not too bad. I mean, there
Okay.
was things that I'm like, hey, I'm not doing that because I used to do that and that doesn't
Yep.
work. And like, I pushed back on some, but mostly though, it was like, hey, I've been in your shoes. I
Yep.
know what you guys face every day and then some, and I'm going to support you. So
Yeah.
I know what that looks like. So actually, here's some direct customers, take them. Like we have our little lump of them, and here's these ones. Now, the ruling on this though is whatever I give to you, they're still allowed to order from me when they want. Like
Yep.
that, but anything that you go and get on your own, I will not take, and my sales rep will not take,
Okay.
and that is rule of thumb. I had people come to me and want to go direct, and then I go, okay, but you're gonna get a real awkward email with your sales rep on it. Oh yeah, sure. Well, 2 minutes later, Sport Life sales rep will be on there, and the one at the time was like, "Holy crap, you really did it." I said, "Dude, I've learned one thing in this industry is all you got is your word. So if you go back on your
Yep.
word, you don't live it down. It's the biggest, littlest industry. People don't
Yes.
forget too." And so that was one thing that I always did was I was like, I put myself in their shoes because I've been in their shoes and with anyone, and I'm like, hey, I wouldn't want it done to me, so why would I do it to you?
Yep.
So it was good. So fast forward to end of Q1 of 2023, and we got a letter that was like, hey, there's some ingredients that you guys are using that I don't
Oh
think we're, and I
no.
go, oh no, like we figured it might happen, and that's why we weren't doing any marketing, anything like that. I'm like, I just wanted to fly under the radar, and
Yeah.
unfortunately, when we blew up in sport life, it kind of got out. So it was kind of like, hey, and so it was like, all right, we have to pivot. And kudos to my partner. He already had a formula worked up, and I tried it and I was like, dude, this is better than the one with DMHA in it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he's like, yeah. He goes, but he goes, what about the diehards? They're gonna. I said, well, we'll blow through the inventory. We'll just tell them like, hey, it is what it is, and we'll have to recoup. We sold more units of the new formula than we did of the old, and the new formula allowed for us because it was compliant to get into larger chains. Rocks discount, all that
Yep.
kind of ones. They were waiting in the wings, like, hey, as soon as DMHA dropped, I think within 3 weeks they brought on two flavors to all their locations, and I was like, well, gosh, what a blessing in disguise. And now we don't have to fly under as much now.
So what? So to go back, what made you decide to only go brick and mortar instead of go both? I'll say e-tail or internet and
Yeah.
brick and mortar.
So we were small company. All our money was going into runs. None of us were
Okay.
taking a salary. I was still working a full-time job and
Yep.
then doing this as a part-time. And so I was like, we don't have the bandwidth to do all of that. Like and I always tell people, win in your backyard. That was one thing I was taught. Like if you can't win in your backyard, you're not going to succeed anywhere else. So it was like, hey,
Yeah.
I know brick and mortar, I know distribution, I can run that with my eyes closed, and this get us a foundation, get us credibility, get some stores that are carrying us so that when we do start making these plays, and so we we were like, all right, we're really going to stick in this because no one else was supporting brick and mortar. They were supporting, but they're the same ones that would go call direct and
Yeah.
undercut online and all this. And I was like, I don't want to be doing customer service this entire time and have angry store owners. And so
Yeah.
that was kind of like hey, we don't need it right now. Eventually we will. And who's going to complain about it? If we give you 3 solid years of brick and mortar love or whatever like that, and then we got to go, hey, the natural progression here is we do go to Amazon, we do go to this. You can't really say like, oh, you screwed me. It's like we gave you 3 year a 3 year
Yeah.
runway.
Yep.
Like, no other brand was doing that. So that was kind of the mindset behind it, was being okay with crawling before we walk and knowing what our limitations were.
Yeah, and I think again, your overall background in the industry, you understood that where everybody nowadays they drop a product and they want instant gratification. They want six figures in the first month. Where other
Oh,
people are like, look, I
yeah.
just want to sell a day. I just want to sell a day. Give me 30,
Yeah.
30 bottles to move for the month.
Yeah. I mean, we honestly, not counting holiday like office closed, those first 2 years, I think we had literally an 8 month streak of we got an order a day. I used to
Wow.
tally it because I was like, this is nuts. Like every week, I'd be like, oh, this is it. The streak's broken. No, we made it like 8 months, an order every day, and it was crazy. And then we get other people reaching out from other countries that want our product because someone asked the store about it, they asked the
Yeah.
distributor, and I'm like, this is bonkers. Because to me, I'm like, it's just a product. Like I just viewed it as like, hey, we did something that we thought was cool, and the fact that people like it, like that's actually pretty dope.
Yeah. So let's talk labels for a minute, because I know we talked off air. When you first
Yeah.
dropped, you were black and white, very dark.
Yeah.
I guess to go with the Donnie Darko.
Yeah.
And then throughout the years, you went to kind of some, if I remember, like a green and black. And now
Yeah.
you've got like colors. You've got the kind of a little bit of a
Yeah.
wicked rabbit or bunny.
Yeah.
Very very vibrant, very lively. Talk to me about the genesis of going from black and
Yeah.
white to that.
So, well, shameless plug, shout out to Liz Ritchie Designs. She has been with us since day one.
Okay.
She's the one that I bring my booklet of weird ideas to, and somehow she turns them into masterpieces, even though I'm like my doodles look like first graders when I send them to her, but she gets it. She
Yep.
understands what I'm
Okay.
trying. Um, and we just collab really well together. So thank you, Lizzie. Yeah, we started black and white, and it was kind of like this cryptic mystique, Donnie Darko speaking in, riddles and parables kind of thing. And we had our little Spotify playlist on there. And truth be told, started out a little darker than I wanted. You
Okay.
know, unbeknownst to me, I didn't know they put tarot cards in the Bible Belt. Hated that. I hated it. Our original neck seals had the F word on them. And I was like, well,
Wow.
guys, no,
Yeah.
someone should have probably consulted with me on this before we did this because it's going to be well received. And they're like, oh, we'll be fine. Oh man, we got lit up. Thankfully, we could make a quick pivot and we got all of it squared away. But there was some learning, and then we started going like, okay, well, how do we keep the momentum going without having to release a brand new product all the time? And it
Yeah.
was like, all right, let's do a limited drop. And I was like, well, what can we do that's different outside of just being a unique flavor? I'm like, partner, and credit to my partner, he's like, let's do a weird label. And I'm like, all right. He goes, let's do one with color since we're black and white. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And so I think we ran 1,500 units of like just our first X-ray bunny. And
Yeah. Okay.
and I remember that we sold out in pre-orders. And it was quite 24 hours. And I was like, oh,
That's
uh,
humbling.
yeah. I was like, okay. Like I didn't, all right, cool. And so we held off, and I think we did another limited drop in Q1 of 2023. Again, we did 2,000 units this time. Boom, done in 36 hours. Pre-orders.
Wow.
And I
Holy.
was like, wow, like we can do this like once a quarter and be good. And
Yeah.
so that's where it really tapped into my creative side then, because I was like, I want to do stuff that people aren't doing, like stuff you just haven't seen that's
Yep.
just cool and weird. And like, so I used to tell people like our black and white was like the Donnie Darko cryptic, and then like our limited drops were like Fear and Loathing in Vegas, the old Johnny Depp movie, like
Okay.
trippy, kind of like let's have fun with it, like just
Yeah.
yeah, almost like an acid trip kind of vibe on it, because I was like, we can do whatever we want. And so my favorite one, I think, was like our third limited drop. We made a pump product called EPO
Yep.
plus, and unfortunately people don't understand EPO, blood doping. It was a pump product. Like we were when it went over a lot of people's heads. So that one, but we made two labels that when you put them next to each other, it made one giant scene. And
Oh.
it was a lost in space kind of theme. And we called the flavor Supernova. And I mean, between the two, we sold like 5,000 units, and people just went bananas for it. And so we
Interesting.
kind of kept that going throughout 2023. Uh, 2024 rolls around, and I'm swamped with my main job,
Yeah.
and my
Okay.
partner swamped with a lot of his other stuff. And so and we were launching, we had a good amount of products at the time. I backed off doing a lot of creative. I think we only did maybe one or two limited drops, and it showed, and I got to the end of 2024, and I was like, this is going to die on the vine if I don't go all in.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it was like, okay, I'm all in. So I went all in, I think in like October of last year. And that's when the creative juices really started flowing. And we did the limited drop in 2024, the Matrix labels, which I was so excited about. I thought people would love. It did really well, but the main feedback we got on IG was, "Oh, I wish it was a different formula. Like, I don't. We already have InHUMAN." And I go, and
Yeah.
I remember telling people, I started interacting with them on IG. I was like, "Done." They go, "What do you mean done?" I go, "Okay, done. Yeah, we'll do it." Like that's simple. Like you're the one buying it if that's what you're asking for.
Yeah.
So we we're working on a new formula, and we're like, we're gonna really smack them in the mouth with a formula. We're gonna give them one that's so potent and stacked, they're not gonna know what to do. Well, we ended up making the formula that now is Void, our product that we are really, really hard hitting, full body pre workout, the one
Yeah.
that did Alice in Wonderland with the new Pokemon themes and all that. Well, we just made our brand new product. So with that, we were like, people are calling for more color. Let's give it to them, but like, let's do what we do best. Let's keep them guessing. So the behind Void, what we do is it's the same formula, but we'll release them in pairs of two, and each two are going to have a different theme behind it. So when you
Oh,
have them on
interesting.
shelf, you're just going to have this weird like plethora of like things, but they're all going to be nostalgic in some way. Like
Yeah.
who doesn't know Alice in Wonderland and the Cheshire Cat and the Pokemon cards? That was my inner nerd that I've been sitting on that
That's
concept for
awesome.
like almost like 2 years now. And it took us a while because we had to like, how can we tiptoe enough where we're not infringing on copyright and still
Yeah.
doing our own thing? So there was a lot of back and forth on that, but I I love it and people love it. And we're still doing unique limited drops for InHUMAN. With a
Yep.
new formula there, we tweaked it and that's been well received. We have some fun ones coming up for an international customer. Like those are like really special to me because that's my creative outlet. I love it and see
Do
them
you
come to life.
do you think you mentioned the formula, but do you think the Matrix, I'll say the Matrix look
Yeah.
didn't do well because of the younger generation? Because Matrix is 25, 26 years old.
Yeah. I think that, and I think by then the wave of momentum was already kind of coming down.
Yep.
And then like we just put out that and people liked it, but it was like, "Eh, it's the same formula though." And so
Okay.
we just repackaged what we were already selling. And I felt them on that. Like I didn't think about it. And then as soon as it was said, it was like, that's a good point. And it was a good
Yeah.
learning lesson too. It was like, well, back to the drawing board. And so that's what really encouraged us to do it. And a lot of companies will go, "Oh, we listen to our consumers." No, like I legitimately listen to them. I'm the one answering DMs on our
Yeah.
IG. I'm the one I go through, and I would say 90 to 95% of it, I will thank anyone that posts our products. I'll reshare it and thank them for supporting us. So if anyone watches this that wants to know on IG, yeah, you're talking to me. So sorry, I'm not prettier, but
So you dropped protein too. Was the protein by request, or was it just say, "Hey, look, we got to round out our catalog because everyone's doing protein nowadays"?
that was kind of more of that. I'm not
Yeah.
crazy about protein. Working
Okay.
in distro, I'm like, dude, the margin's super lean on it. And what are
Bingo.
we gonna do that's any crazier than anything else? Now, kudos to Lizzie. She built like it's one of my favorite labels. I just like the look of it and all of it. Um, we kind of dabbled into like hey, we're not selling you this super lean protein that's 97 whey isolate, all this kind of stuff. It was like we're gonna put crushed up Oreos and like crushed up cookies in it, and this is gonna be something where you're like, I'm really craving something. You can do and you get 25, 26 grams of protein in
Yep.
about one anywhere from 160 to 180 in calories, which is a good trade-off, I think,
Sure.
and it's better than eating a bar. And so we were doing that, and so we're like, well, we wanted inclusions that floated at the top, and then we had some that sank to the bottom. So I was like, let's call it after bites because there's a
Oh,
little bit of an
interesting.
like an after bite to it. I couldn't tell you how many people have messaged me going, "There's floaties at the bottom of my protein." I'm like, that's the whole point. After bite, like you're after that, there's something you could chew on. Oh, okay, okay. And yeah, I still
Yeah.
get flack for it. I just had a kid message me from like an Amazon sale. He's like, "There's lumps in the bottom of this." I was like, "It's Chips Ahoy cookie." He goes, "Oh." I was like, "There's a giant Chips Ahoy cookie on the front of the logo." Like, what are we doing here?
Some people just don't think.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
here's a question. You've been in the business for 10, 12 years. Okay.
yeah,
Like, so do you feel like go back to when you first started it, let's say at MuscleTech I of 8. Okay.
yeah,
Let's look at the labels and formulas back then where I felt the labels were very throughout the whole industry, kind of simpler.
yeah.
Fast forward now, do you think the labels are just as important as the ingredient panel?
Yeah, I think back then when I was at GNC, so we'll say 2011,
Okay.
you only at the time, I mean, really only Cellucor had anything that tasted. They revolutionized flavoring for that. They were using that ice cream flavor house, and all
Yes.
their C4s were amazing. I'm like, dude, like I think half the people bought it because of the flavor. There was better formulas out there, but it was like this tastes good. I think they ushered in the era of like, hey, it can no longer just be a good formula. It has to be a good flavor. And
Yep.
then as you saw the evolution come, and then it was like, well, if you could get like a good formula, like a killer formula, you can skimp on the flavor and like the label really doesn't matter. If you're not hitting all three now,
Yeah.
done. Like it's such a saturated market. People have upped their game so much, and kudos. I love it because it makes. I think about it all the time. I'm like, well, so and so. I'll go and ask people. I'll read reviews on other brands' websites of like, oh, how's that flavor taste? All of this, that. Like, I'll ask people. I'll ask the people that own the company. I go, what do you really think of that flavor? Oh, I don't like it. Okay, cool. Like, I'm always curious, and I always am transparent with anyone that asks me about label process that because I'm like you're not going to replicate what we're doing because it works because it's us and that. But I will
Yeah.
give you every asset to be successful because I also think that's something that changed. Back in the day, the old guard was like, oh, close to the chest, not going to tell you my secrets, not going to tell you this. Now you
Yep.
can Google it and look up where they're manufactured. You know someone there, like all that. I share anything and everything because I'm like, I got nothing to hide. And if
Yep.
you make a great product, it's going to encourage me to want to make a good product.
Do you think that because for me, again, I'm old school. So for me, when I go for flavor, like my BAAs, BCAAs have to be like top notch. My
Yeah.
protein has to be top notch. I'm less picky on the pre workout because
Yeah.
again, I'm drinking a pre workout in a minute, and
Yeah,
I'm
you're
looking more in the
it's a
but
chugging.
are people? Do you think that people are still putting too much emphasis in a pre workout flavor? Like it's good and bad because you want it to taste good, but again,
Yeah.
you're not sipping on it throughout a workout like an intra.
Well, you have to though, because that's the one of the highest selling market
I know, I
categories.
know.
And that's the thing. So like if EAAs were the highest selling, category, then yeah, I mean EAAs you do have to. And I'm super picky about that. But with pre-workout, if you don't like that's your best chance to get your brand out there is something that hits. That's why when people go to do sample packets, they go, oh, I did samples of my EAA. I'm like, why? I said people want something they can feel. So if you don't have a
Yeah,
stim product in a sample, you got to have something that stands out. And protein too. That's one that you got to be really picky on, and
for
rightfully
sure.
so. Because I mean, I honestly I take IsoPure because I'm so tired of chocolate and vanilla. I do like some fruity tropical clear whey now
Sure.
because I just like 13 years of strawberry and cookies and cream and like yeah, I'm like I can't I just can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
Uh but yeah, I would say that it's because pre-workout's the most popular category, I mean, or up there with protein that you
Yep.
have to because that's what all the kids are taking. It's no different. The same kids that are blasting trend at 18, are the ones taking your pre-workout. They're going to be the first ones to vocalize if it tastes bad.
Yeah, but then you see a lot of the expert reviewers now, the first thing that they're touting is it tastes great. And then all the effects are secondary.
Yeah, I actually, so I will say that is something I did notice where it was like, it's almost like the taste and the presentation is taking a front seat to the actual performance, that they're willing to
Yeah,
overlook some of the performance aspects. Because I always have people, I'm like, tell me straight up if something's not hitting or if it's all that, like our InHUMAN Pyro is our thermogenic pre-workout combo, and it's like a two-in-one hits like a Mack truck, great
yeah.
performance. We were using an ingredient that had cayenne and Tabasco in it, and it literally gave it
Tabasco.
spice. Yeah.
Wow, cayenne I'm used to, but Tabasco, that's interesting.
Yeah, I wasn't used to it either. And so I remember doing like our watermelon honeydew. It's really sweet, and then you get this spice after. And some
Okay.
people were like, oh, it's too much. Others are like, I like this. And I was like, huh. It's like putting jalapeno in your beer. Like people like that weird yeah, like it's a sensory kind of thing.
Yeah,
But I feel like if you have something that performs really well, people might be willing to overlook maybe a less than desirable flavor.
okay.
But if you have like a subpar, just generic kind of product, and then the flavors, like it just, yeah, it's so weird. Like I think it's a very valid point. I really feel that, because everyone wants to be a review person now.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's the thing. Everyone has a platform. They can all, I couldn't tell you how many people, hey man, how about you send me a box of free stuff and I'll do reviews and then I'll go to their page. And I'm not knocking anybody, but I'm like, dude, you got like 10 followers. Like,
Yeah.
you want me to shell out a couple $100 in products so you don't have to go and buy it. Like, how about
Yeah.
you go and buy our
Yeah.
product, do a review, and I'll share you on our platform. Granted, it's only like 3,000 followers, but gladly
Still.
reshare it. Like, that's
Yeah.
a fair trade-off. But me just sending you free stuff, like, no.
Yeah. Talking about flavoring too, that's another thing that's shifted too. When you go back like 10 years ago, it was like watermelon, fruit punch, and blue raz.
Yeah,
And you don't see those anymore because back then people were less apt to try something more unique, like the peach mangoes and this and that. Where now I think people are more, they want those unique or exotic flavors.
they do. But the funny part is our watermelon, our snow cone, which is a fancy blue raz, and our paradise punch, which is fruit punch, is still
Okay.
the top performing flavors. It's like protein. People will stray from vanilla and chocolate for a fun little, little
Sure.
treat,
Yeah.
and then they go right back to it again. And they always do,
Yeah.
because it's home. It's a safety net. But like our two void flavors that we started with, blue madness and sour watermelon, people still like, they still like the basis of it.
Yeah.
But I
Okay.
agree though. I feel like if you're, and I think some people are just getting duped on things where they're like, "Oh, I don't like blue raz," but someone will call it like blue razzmatazz, and they're like, "Well, that's not the same thing." Yeah, it's the old bait and switch. So I think it has to do with the presentation of it too. But yeah, I mean, I felt like maybe it's died down a little bit. But man, the candy flavors, that's all you
Yeah.
could find. Oh, Rocket Pop. Oh, Nerds. Oh, this. Oh,
Yep.
that. It's
Yep.
like, oh, like I when my flavor house. A lot of times I don't really have a flavor in mind when we do something. So I always go dealer's choice. Send me 5 or 6 flavors and
Okay.
let's see what we like. And if I don't
Yeah.
like any of them, we'll try it again. But like I'm not gonna sit there and try to guess what flavors people are wanting. I might go and look, like I saw in, I think it was Jocko has a protein that's like root beer float.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, like you're seeing these things, and I like that people are taking more chances though, because to me, I'm like, that's what innovation's about. It's about taking risks.
Yeah, but like a root beer float, I like root beer, but
Yeah.
like for that you'd have to do like a 5 serving tub because I don't think I could do 30 servings or 28 servings
W-
of a root beer.
Well, and that's the thing. That's where we've even talked about with our protein, because with the prices going up and everything, was like, do we knock it down to a 1 pounder? Because we do have these sweet, indulgent flavors.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna want 25 servings of this,
Yep.
and thinking about it. And if protein's not our main market, like, let's make it a more affordable option that someone can go buy their vanilla and chocolate or their clear whey, and then they can buy our little 1 pounder as a sweet treat on the side, because they're probably not going to do it every night. It might be once or twice a
Yeah.
week. That'll get you through a whole month.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
Kyle, we talked off air about how your pre-workouts are known for like the high stimmers.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you ever thought about making something more manageable for like more the like a 300 mig, or would that kind of kill the overall look of the brand?
I don't think so. I think there's creative ways to do it. We're actually going through R&D on a few options right now.
Right.
We have our global version. It's our more generic international one that is like, I think like 250. It's under three or under.
Okay.
It's not a bad little profile, but it's more like an essential one, so you can hit the price point that these other countries need while
Yep.
still delivering a cool label and all that. But I really love nootropics. Like,
That's how I am.
I like the cognitive stuff. So you give me a good nootropic and like a pump product, mash them together. I'm really like, our original EPO had New Pep in it. I loved it. Oh,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was my favorite. And like, unfortunately, New Pep's one of those ones that just like, mm-mm. And
Yeah.
so, we're playing around with some right now where it's like, all right, let's do a lower stim. Maybe we stay at 250, 200. And
Yep.
because I feel like that's a good entry level where if someone wants to try it, they need that, then they can move to Inhuman. Then it's
Sure.
like, all right, well, I have Inhuman. Do I want to do Inhuman Pyro that hits a little hard? Do I want to go to Void and all that? But it's really crazy because the days that we used to call it pink it and shrink it, like for the female
Okay.
demographic, they
Yeah.
would cut a formula in half and then throw pink on it. I know more women that take our void than any other thing. And like, I think this whole like, oh, women need to have lower stim, that's gone. I have a plethora of female followers on our brand and all that love it, that dry scoop it. I tell them
Yeah.
they're psychos all the time. They're ballsier than I am about it. I won't even take it, let alone dry scoop it.
Yeah, I go to Starbucks. I don't go a lot, but I go to Starbucks every once in a while. I get something simple, but I look around. It seems to be like the females that are ordering the double, triple espressos and this and that. And I'm like, you're looking at the three, four, 500. So I'm like, what do you mean you're not stim? You're not stim heavy. What are you talking about?
Yeah, it's crazy. And so like that's the one thing I love that we did well was we never said, hey, Johnny 6 days a week bodybuilders are in demographic. We were like, hey, we make weird, cool things. And if you feel like you were ever weird or cool or an outlier, come hang out with us. And it has brought us such a wide variety of end consumer. Now, granted, you're gonna get a lot of the 6 day a week bodybuilders that like
Sure.
it. But again, I never would have thought in a million years that 40% of our consumer is female,
Wow.
and
Okay.
yeah, it's a pretty healthy split. And, I have an uncle that takes InHUMAN and he's like 70. I'm like, dude, please don't. Like, we have insurance, but please don't. It's gonna make like Thanksgiving super awkward, but he loves it. He does a half scoop of it. And yeah, it's just really cool. I love when people reach out and they'll go, hey, I was really out of training for a while. Someone turned me on to your product. I loved how I felt on it. I've been going back to the gym all the time. And honestly, I'm a sucker for it. So I usually end
Yeah.
up sending them like a little care package as a thank you. Because like to me, that's what it's all about. Like this has never been about, making $100 million brand and doing all this. Honestly, I'm gonna jump off that ship well before
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
ever it reaches something like that. But I'm like, I'm in a position where I can bless others and support others and encourage them. Like, why not use that platform? And I feel like you don't. That's the one thing I'll say is kind of disappointing with our industry is you don't see that a lot. You know,
Yeah. No, I agree.
there's not a lot of rallying around, and so I'm like, cool. I'll be the weird guy that goes and sends you a thank you because of this and that, and like I genuinely am grateful because I don't have to work for someone else. I can work for myself, be home with my family,
Yep.
when I need to. I have flexibility. Like I'm so grateful for this job. Why wouldn't I want to give back to those who've supported us?
And some people don't realize that because I love that. Like when I open up a box from somebody, and even it's got the little cheesiest of a postcard, and it was actually handwritten that says "Thank you from
Yeah.
Jim or Bob or whatever." Whatever it is. As weird as it sounds, that actually means a lot to me.
It does. I ordered a birthday present for my brother-in-law. He's got a birthday coming up, and from eBay, and nice card in there. Hey, we're small business. Thank you for doing this. Like I
Yeah.
appreciate it. And I'm like that right there. Like that's what it's about. You know, you got to it adds a layer of emotion to it and that
Yep.
kind of personal connection. And I try to do that with our social media. I'm not the one creating the content, all that. We've been very fortunate that we've had some great people that do it for free. They love the brand, they've done
Yeah.
free content, all that. But I am the one answering those direct messages. I am the one reposting people's stories. I am the one commenting on there. Like I love people. That's honestly how it
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
started, and it just kind of is gone from there.
I also think, and this is just me, I think it's important for a brand that if customers can either identify with an owner, okay, if the owner is like in front of the Instagram,
Yeah.
discussing whatever, or if there's a mascot. I also think
Yeah.
that if you can't talk to the owner, if there's a mascot that people can associate with,
Yeah.
that's also another attraction for a brand.
I feel like the skateboarding industry did a really good job of that. They
Yeah.
always had
Okay.
like those little like 3D animated guys. Like I think of Blind Skateboards that had the little Grim Reaper, and they
Yep.
were on the shirts or Alien Workshop and like all this. Like I always thought that was cool because it made great merchandise. And
Yes.
full transparency, I'm still beta testing having like a little rabbit mascot and what that would look like. And like I think it's just cool. Like you got something that you could see the sticker, you're gonna know,
Yep.
and it's just great marketing too. But yeah, that was something that has been on my mind probably a lot more than it should lately, but that is one that I have been considering.
Yeah, and plus it opens up a whole new line of merch, whether it's like you're saying, shirts, hats,
Does.
whatever else.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. I know a bunch of plugging all the way through, but this new shirt, new hat, figure out how
Okay.
to wear it, and then uh but yeah, it's that's the one thing I'm like, I would like to be able to set in a position like we entertained doing energy drinks at one point, and then it was like right before everything really took off. But the one
Yeah.
thing there is like if you don't have a full-fledged team dedicated to that, you're done. And I knew a couple brands that launched energy drink stuff and it ate up so much money
Oh
that
yeah.
it tanked their pills and powders, and that's the thing. I was just kind of like, again, it goes back to that crawling before you walk thing is if you're not winning in your backyard, like completely dominating where you have that actual liquid income to do those things, it's a whole like the energy drink, just food and bev in general is a whole different animal.
Yeah, I've got a very close friend that has a very well-known brand, and he was thinking about it, and they were like, "Look, the first order is 250,000 cans," and he was like, even when it comes out to 50, 60, 70 cents a can, he's like, that still adds up quick.
And well, not only that, you got to get ready for the reorder. And so, one
Yep,
thing I've learned in all this is you're not paying for the can, you're paying for the runtime.
yep.
And these big brands own those runs because, say, Monster or Red Bull has an agreement with that manufacturer that they get 40 hours of line time a month.
Oh, sure.
Well, say you're coming up on the last few days of the month, it's your turn. You're like, yes, my stuff's going to run. Monster can come through and go, hey, you still owe us 8 hours. You get bumped. You
Yeah,
get bumped
yeah.
because that's a contract. And people are like, I watched it happen. I watched one guy never get his line off the ground because of it. It
Yeah.
took too long.
Well, that's just, I think, the contract manufacturing, regardless in general, that if you come to me, you want to order, a 1,500 bottles of protein, and someone else comes in and wants to order 10,000, who am I going to manufacture first?
Yeah, we got really lucky. Our manufacturer was up and coming as well, but they were ones that really white glove experience kind of a for us.
Yep.
And it was like, hey, we want to do these formulas. And it's like, well, if you sub this out, you'll actually save 25 cents a unit, and the ingredient that you can replace it with hits just as hard. And it was like,
Yeah,
oh, all
yeah,
right, cool. And like full transparent pricing. They showed me their markups, all
yeah,
this. And honestly, if we didn't have them, I don't really know if we would have been where we were at. They pivoted so quickly all the time for us. We weren't a needy customer, but because we were so rapidly growing, but they believed in us. And that was what a big part was for us.
yep. Kyle, as you wind down, is there any teasers you want to put out for the listeners? Any new products or anything? Because I know I've seen is it Void? I know I see the new label of Void coming up
Yeah.
on LinkedIn and some
Yeah.
other areas. But any other teasers that you want to put out there for your customers or anything? Or
I'll definitely say this. July is going to be a little quiet, but
okay,
you guys should gear up for the remainder of the year. We're not done with Void. We're not done with the InHUMAN drops. We got some new products coming. A lot of innovation still coming before the year is out. This was thing that we put down on the paper beginning of the year was we're going to hit innovation hard.
okay,
And yeah, so we got some new products, new categories, some fun limited drops, some new ongoing SKUs. Like I think people will be really, really happy. I'm already designing and working on the next voids because demand's already there. I'm like, oh, I thought I was gonna get a couple months off. Nope. So
it's a blessing and a curse. You can see
it
a
is.
little depression, like you're hoping to relax, but then but then again, I'm still busy.
Yeah, I always tell people, get it while it's hot. And if I don't know how long Void's going to be at the level that it's at, so it's like I would rather have people be asking for more of what I'm making than not asking at all. So it is a blessing. So it's like, hey, if I have to stay in the lab a little longer and come up with some more fun stuff and get like it's just good. It's another challenge. So I'm grateful for our supporters and the retailers and distributors, everyone that has supported us. I mean, we're in like 15 countries now,
That's awesome.
so and we're just getting started. And the crazy part is it's me and like one other guy doing all this.
Yeah, I mean, it's a success story. I mean, you're working crazy, but as we talked earlier offline, you've got a daughter that's going to grow before your eyes, and I'm sure you want to,
Yeah.
prepare for her and hopefully set her up for success once she gets older.
Yeah, definitely. And I did see one of the questions you did ask on here about, piece of advice for someone that's like entering into health and
Yeah,
wellness and
please.
all that. Yeah, for me, it's for something like that, you have to be ready to work. I got my start. I got lucky enough to get plucked out of GNC to become an outside sales rep. I was driving 3,000, 4,000 miles a month. There were some
Wow.
months I
Okay.
was away from home more than I was at home. And like you have to be willing to put in that time and effort. But people have to realize that if you get in with a brand, you are the extension of that brand. So how
Yeah.
you carry and conduct yourself is a direct reflection of that brand. So I was brash when I got into this industry. I was like, I'm going to win at all costs, all that, and ruffled feathers. And then as I matured, was like, that's probably not the best way to go about it. And it was also admitting when I was wrong on stuff. So my thing here is protect your reputation,
Yep.
you know, work hard. If you work hard and you grind, it will pay off. Take risks too. You could do it and protect your circle. And that was one thing that took me a long time was you get a lot of people that want to come in and, oh, hey, I got your best interest, oh, this or that. And
Yeah.
then,
Yeah.
yeah, 4 months down the road, you're picking knives out of your back.
Yeah.
And it was something that when you meet good people in the industry, do whatever you can to support them. I am very fortunate enough where I have a small circle of great people that cover every type of thing within our industry that I know if I need something or they'll call me up, hey man, new store opened up. I saw an IG. Did you see it yet? You should reach out to them for your products. Just like people that have your best interests, that have your same goals, that like protect your circle and make sure you build a good one.
Yeah. Yeah. Kyle, what's the end goal, or is there an end goal?
Well, we're currently in talks with some expansion opportunities for channels.
Okay.
Can't divulge too much into that quite yet, but honestly, I just want to continue to grow, see what we can do, make a splash as long as we can, and if I'm fortunate enough where I can grow it to a point where someone wants to buy it, I want to get off while the roller coaster's still going up the hill. I'm not waiting to get to the peak because I'm a simple guy, simple living. I don't need much, but I want to leave some meat on the bone for
Yep.
others. And honestly, I think once AD is done, I want to go help others build their dreams out. I'm currently doing it now, but this eats up a lot of the time, so I do it in a smaller capacity with my other company.
Yep.
But yeah, man, I want to build out entrepreneurs. I think the world needs more of them, and if it means helping people build their brands out or within our industry, I'm always here. I'm always game.
I'm sure you'd love a nice big ghost check folded on your lap there, like they just got
Ooh,
last year.
honestly, I'll take about 10% of that and be happy. I don't know what I would do with that level of a check. So 10% is like, all right. I don't think I would be completely too shell shocked, but yeah, honestly, I tell people all the time if I could walk away with, it sounds so terrible because it's such a like, hey, if you walk away like 5, 10 million, before taxes,
Yeah.
you can do a lot of good with that long term. So I'm not picky. I'll take it.
If people are listening to this and scratching their heads, look up ghost acquisition or ghost buyout. It was $1 billion, or they're right in that vicinity of $1 billion.
Yes, they are, and I mean, it could have been Bang Energy too if someone didn't get in front of their own way.
I know. And Ryan and I forget the other guy. They're both young too. They're like in their 40s, which is
Oh,
crazy.
I know. Gosh, they look better in their 40s than I have in my 20s.
Oh man, Kyle, it's truly been a pleasure. I appreciate this. Again, I know we've been playing tag for a while. Plug the website, Instagram. Where can people follow you, learn more about the products,
Yeah.
etc.
We're big on IG. Haven't really done anything on TikTok. At After Dark Supps, SUPPS is our IG handle. You can get to our website from there. It has plethora of all of our brands and our offerings. If you have any questions, just DM us on there. I'll gladly answer them for you. And anyone that's repping our products, have the product in the photo so we can reshare. I don't. I'm not really looking to repost a photo of you posing half naked in the mirror. Uh, so please quit tagging us in that. Please at least have the product in frame, and we'll do that. And please quit asking me to sponsor you.
That's the other thing too. I know that's just yeah. I've got 5 followers. Can you sponsor me? I haven't tried your products, but can you sponsor me and send me the products?
I final go out story. My favorite one. I had a guy reach out, and it's like the longest message ever. And I read it through. I was all the way through, and basically just crap talking our formulas and how we need to do better, and like here how he can help. And if not only if we employed him, he would guarantee this, that, and the other, and I'll send him free products to try. And And then somehow it came out that he never even tried any of our products yet. So I don't even know how they work. And then he's like, I'm looking forward to you sponsoring me. And then like that was it. And so I just wrote back, no, like no. And he just like, yeah, yeah. The guy wrote back, he goes, I honestly wasn't expecting a response. I was like, what do you like? What do you expect, man? Like, how am I not going to say something? Yeah, so I've had some real doozies on there. It's all in good fun. I'm never mean to anybody. A lot of times, if it's just instead, it's like the international middle fingers, just put NO or K.
International Ass Hat Association. But anyway,
Yeah, dude. Yeah, there's some special people out there. But hey, you don't know unless you shoot your shot. I just don't suggest shooting it that way.
yeah, no, I agree. It doesn't sound like you used AI though, which is good. It sounds like you actually wrote the letter.
Oh, the AI ones, there are some, and they're pretty funny
Yeah.
too. Because I'm like, this is not a human at all.
Oh my God. But Kyle,
So,
hopefully you've enjoyed yourself today, and hopefully you'll
oh
bless us coming
yeah,
back in a couple of months. I know we chat on LinkedIn on everyone else's
yeah,
post. Vanilla Gorilla Drew, and I forget his last name, but I know we're always
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
reading
yeah.
his stuff. But again, we'd love to have you back in the future. More launches, more industry,
Oh yeah.
excitement and everything else.
Well, I appreciate. I gladly would love to be back on. Hopefully, we'll push it down road a little bit, and I'll have more great things to share with you. And
Yeah.
I'm a fan of the show. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And yeah, I look forward to just kind of continuing to follow your guys' journey too.
And again, listeners, if you enjoy great looking ingredients, great formulas, as well as very edgy and cool graphics and labels, at least visit the website, make a purchase or two. Again, small business, family man trying to make
Y-
his existence, and
Yeah.
support small, as I say.
Oh, here and also ADS10 will get you 10% off on all your purchases.
Love it, love it. Thank you,
Yeah.
Kyle.
Yeah.
Um,
Appreciate you. Thank you so much.
but again, it's a pleasure, and we'll talk again soon.
Yeah. Sounds good.
And everybody, thank you so much for listening. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, and support as always. Take care.